I'm Claudia and I'm going to be refuting the claim that children who watch too many hours of television can be negatively affected mentally, emotionally, and physically. My opponent's secondary claims or supporting claims were 1, that children who watch excessive amounts of television tend to suffer more in the classroom than those who don't, and 2, children who watch lots of TV tend to be overweight, and 3, television can affect children's behavior physically, mentally, and emotionally. For the first claim, that children who watch excessive amounts of television tend to suffer more in the classroom than those who don't, the advocate uses as support Dr. Siege and Diet and Pediatrics quote, who say that American children spend more time watching TV than they do in school. This is actually invalid because in the beginning of his presentation, the advocate says that 8 to 18-year-olds actually watch 4 hours a day, which would be 28 hours a week of TV. And I found out that according to the National Center for Education Statistics, students go to school an average of 30 hours a week. So if anything, students spend the same amount of time watching TV as they do in school. And the experts he quotes seem to be exaggerating a bit. He also says that watching TV replaces activities that help with school performance, but he doesn't say the source that stated this or how the conclusion was derived. So this undermines his claim because there's no proof to show that if these students weren't watching TV, they would be reading, doing homework, or anything else that helps with school performance. He also states that he says that according to the U.S. Department of Education, academic achievement drops sharply for children who watch more than 10 hours a week. However, in the same article, the U.S. Department of Education also says, TV viewing can actually help students from backgrounds in which books, magazines, and other mind-enriching sources are in short supply. In such cases, television can expand children's horizons, introduce them to new concepts, give them information which would otherwise be inaccessible, stimulate their imaginations, and enlarge their vocabulary. So this contradicts his claim that TV negatively affects academic achievement because the same article is stating that TV viewing actually helps children learn depending on if the material is educational. His second claim is that children who watch lots of TV tend to be overweight. He says that children who watch TV are more likely to be inactive and tend to snack while watching TV. However, he provides no evidence to back this up. This undermines his claim because there's no backing for his grounds. He also says that watching a lot of TV disrupts sleeping patterns, increases girls' chances of developing an eating disorder, and increases kids' chances of smoking. There's no evidence for this, and unless the girls' chances of developing an eating disorder attribute to obesity, disruptive sleeping patterns, increased girls' chances of developing an eating disorder, and increased chances of smoking are really irrelevant to proving that watching TV leads to being overweight. He also says that many ads target children and encourage unhealthy habits, linking this to childhood obesity. However, the Weight Control Information Network says, parents play a big role in shaping children's eating habits. When parents eat a variety of foods that are low in fat and sugar and high in fiber, children learn to like these foods as well. So in the end, it doesn't matter whether children are watching like unhealthy foods and commercials or whether they're trying to make them buy all these sugary cereals or anything. What matters is what the food that the parents bring into the home. His third claim is that television can affect children's behavior physically, mentally, and emotionally. This was a little unclear, but based on his evidence or his supporting points, I basically interpreted it as saying or claiming that violence shown in TV negatively affects children emotionally. He supports this claim by stating that violence in the media causes aggressiveness in children and causes them to be afraid of the world they live in. However, he fails to provide the audience with evidence or examples of this, although he does say that by 18, a person will have seen 20,000 violent acts on TV. He really doesn't show how this correlates to children being aggressive or afraid of the world they live in. In an article I found in Variety.com, a University of Montreal professor who has spent more than 20 years studying 35,000 Canadian children to try to find the cause of violence in children, says that all babies are born with violent tendencies, which most kids learn to control as they grow older. Those who don't or can't learn are the ones who become violent. Damaged genes can prevent a child from learning skills for self-expression, reducing his ability to interact socially, and thus make him prone to violence. He quotes, "Clearly youth were violent before television appeared." So now that I've pointed out the flaws in my opponent's argument, I hope that many of you will see that TV isn't all to blame for negative mental, physical, and emotional effects of the children.
You spoke already, right?
No.
Oh, you're going to speak tonight.
Yeah.
Where's your evaluation form?
Do you have one I could use? I didn't put that one out.
Okay, we'll have to worry about it in just a minute.
Okay.
All right. All right, labeling is clear. Signposts as you get to each point are pretty good. You're challenging the advocate's evidence in a couple of ways. The first one, I don't know how much impact you get, that there's no significant difference, 28 hours versus 30 hours. I don't know how important that couple hour of difference is into your argument. I think the better argument is that there's a lack of source or citation on the impact on these kinds of things, and it assumes that it is, that the kids would substitute some other productive use for their TV watching time, that they would do homework instead or they'd exercise instead, and that there's not really a demonstration that those things would automatically occur. And then you mentioned some of the benefits of television watching, which comes out of the advocate's own source, which gives it some credibility there. On the other issue, the second issue, again, you've got the same general challenge about the lack of evidence there. You try and explain the argument about eating disorders, maybe putting it in the context of obesity. I'm not sure whether the advocate was talking about obesity or anorexia. It's always one of those confusing things. People say, well, girls watch TV and they want to be thin, but we live in a culture where everybody's too fat, so what's the problem here? Maybe we should all get anorexic, or maybe it should be the other way around. We should stop watching TV and we'll all get thin. It's a confusing relationship, and I thought you pointed out that there's a little bit of confusion on that argument. The lack of clarity on the third point you tried to clarify, I thought you had an okay argument on the challenge on the relationship there. Okay.